How many of you have bought something, maybe a phone or a pair of shoes, and thought, this is gonna make me feel so much better?
And how long did that feeling last? A few days?
Or maybe just a couple of hours. Hi, I'm Hafsa.
I'm Nitya.
And I'm Manha. Today, we're gonna talk about something that affects all of us, whether we realize it or not. Materialism. It is the idea that having more possessions will lead to greater happiness and success. But we are here to ask, does it really?
Everywhere we look, we're constantly reminded that happiness comes from having more. The latest iPhone 16, the new Nike Air Forces, the viral Dubai chocolate, or even just the trending Stanley. They're all marketed to us as the pillars to joy and success, that having these products will make us more popular. When I really think about it, does owning more actually leave us happy, or are we chasing after a never-ending illusion?
We live in a world where consumerism is everywhere, from ads on TV to a social media influencer showing off their latest products. But what happens when that feeling of excitement of a new purchase fades away? Instead of feeling fulfilled, we're oftentimes left with a craving for more in a constant cycle.
Everyone goes through a phase where they focus too much on material things, but what's important is realizing where we went wrong and how we can fix that. When I was younger, I really wanted a new phone. All my friends had the most popular versions, and I was stuck with an old one, so I always felt left out. I kept on asking my parents for one, having the mindset that if I had the same phone as everyone else, I would finally feel better. Eventually, I got one, and at first it was great. But later on, a new version had updated, becoming the new trend, and almost everyone had it. So now, I was in the same situation as before, wanting the same phone as everyone else to finally feel like I was fitting in. And that's when I realized that it was just a never-ending cycle. The phone no longer made me happy and excited. It was just another thing I owned. And it made me wonder, does having more actually make us happier?
Exactly. The pressure to keep up with trends is real, especially when everyone else seems to have the latest technology or the most fashionable clothes. Sure, it feels good at first, but the feeling always wears off, transporting you right back where you started, looking for the next new thing. This happened to me too, so I started questioning, why do we tie our self-worth to things? It made me wonder, does owning more actually bring long-term happiness, or was it just a quick fix that never lasts? When I was researching, I came across a quote by Will Rogers that states, too many people spend money they haven't earned to buy things they don't want, to impress people they don't like. This made me realize that a lot of what we chase for isn't even for us, it's how we want others to see us. And that's not even real joy. True happiness doesn't come from material things, but from within, from experiences and relationships that give us real meaning.
And then there's the role of social media. It's easy to get caught up in the trap of comparison, especially when we scroll through Instagram or TikTok and see glimpses of other people's lives through vacations and new clothes. It can make us feel like we're falling behind, but to be honest, we're not even seeing the full story. We see the luxury, not the struggle, the smile, not the stress, since real happiness doesn't come from comparison or thinking about what you can have. It comes from appreciating what you do have and thinking and focusing on the people around you. This obsession with materialistic possessions not only makes us less fulfilled, but also less thoughtful. Surrounded by superficial distractions, we've forgotten how to have deep and meaningful conversations.
That constant comparison affects how we see happiness, and research backs this up. Studies show that materialism does not lead to lasting happiness. According to the American Psychological Association, materialistic people often experience lower levels of well-being and higher levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. In fact, a 2017 study shows that people who place high importance on material possessions tend to have more shallow relationships and are less overall life satisfaction.
That's right. Materialism often leads us to think that our happiness is tied to what we own. But in reality, when we constantly pursue things, we miss out on the stuff that truly matters. Research consistently shows that people who prioritize experiences such as traveling, spending time with loved ones, or even just learning new skills report higher levels of success and fulfillment. These aren't things you can buy, but they're some of the most valuable parts of life.
And it's not just personal. Materialism has wider implications for society as well. When we engage in these patterns, it can create a sense of exclusion for those who cannot afford to keep up, making us part of the problem rather than the solution. Moreover, when we focus on buying more, we consume more, create more waste, and contribute to the depletion in our planet's natural resources. The environmental impact of consumerism is unfortunately significant. According to a 2020 report by the Global Sustainability Institute, we consume over 100 billion tons of natural resources each year. If we keep going at this rate, then the future will face the consequences from polluted air and water to food shortages and a warming planet. Our desire to have more now is putting the stability of the future at risk. Every step we take today leaves an imprint on the world our generations will walk on tomorrow.
But everything has a positive and a negative because the truth is, sometimes, only sometimes, stuff does make us happy. Maybe not forever, and maybe not in the ways we expect, but material things can still bring a little bit of real value, joy, and meaning to our lives. And what about reward and achievement? For many, buying something special is a way of celebrating hard work. It might be a designer bag, a new phone, or even a vacation, which acts as a symbol that says, I've earned this. That's not selfish or superficial. But while material things can add value to our lives, the more we depend on possessions for happiness, the more empty, shallow, and hollow that happiness becomes. And that's when materialism becomes a problem.
I agree. Sometimes things can boost our confidence, remind us of good memories, or just make us feel better. It's okay to chase after something that you've been wanting. However, the problem is that when this starts to become repetitive, it becomes toxic, and we let it define our and everyone else's worth. We need to acknowledge the downsides of excessive consumerism, like waste or debts. But these aren't problems with material things themselves. They're problems with how we relate to them. The issue isn't buying. It's buying too much for the wrong reasons.
We should never confuse material things with having only one purpose because a lot of the time, those things can be a form of self-expression. The way we dress, decorate our rooms, or even the brands we support reflect our personalities, cultures, and values. So, can having and buying more actually make us happier? We believe the answer is sometimes. It's a yes when we're intentional about it, but a no when we start to overconsume and misuse things.
So, if materialism can become such a problem, what can we do about it? One simple step is being more mindful and intentional when we shop, which means taking the moment to reflect on whether you're buying something out of habit, impulse, or just for others to see, or interesting hobbies that encourage skill building and creativity, things that reduce the desire for excess and create positive differences in our lives.
Another way we can move away from materialism is by remembering that there are many people around the world who don't even have the basic necessities like food, clean water, or a safe place to live. While we're busy wanting more, some are just trying to survive and get through normal day-to-day life. That's why doing small things like donating or volunteering can help make a big difference for those less fortunate people around you. And in the process, these actions can also make us more grateful and appreciate what we already have.
And finally, we can start to change what we celebrate. Instead of praising people for what they own, we can start to value their behaviors and achievements. Because when we stop applauding small things and start to appreciate the person as a whole, we build a world that's better in all the ways that actually matter.
How many of you have ever heard of money can't buy happiness? Well, guess what? It's true. It's all about finding balance. To conclude, the more we depend on possessions for happiness, we should never do that. Because first of all, that's wrong. And second, it just decreases your happiness.
We hope this talk made you think a little differently about what you buy.
I agree, as materialism may seem like the answer to enjoyment, but it's actually the opposite. Constantly seeking for more things can leave us feeling unsatisfied and worried.
So next time you're about to click buy now, pause and ask yourself, will this make me happy next week or just right now? Thank you.
Thank you.